So welcome to this little short video I want to show trying to promote the use of a new kind of Tello Simulator in the brain box for the EEC. And so in chapter 10 of the book, there is a mention made of a Tello Simulator and code for this and illustrations of this. The one I'm showing now is the one that's in the text, which just uses LEDs to indicate control motions against the simulated drone, and then a display here, the OLED display, showing some textual information. But it turns out that there's this nifty device that I've just now started to get kind of familiar with, which is called a cheap yellow display, CYD. And it has a 240 by 320 pixel display. You see that on the left here, and you can put virtual icons on there. So I have virtual LEDs on there. I've got text on there indicating what the LEDs mean when they're actually lit up. And then there's a wider text area that takes the place of the small text area that was in the original Tello Simulator. So this device here, the cheap yellow display, can be obtained at 100 unit elements for like close to $10. A lot of the Chinese manufacturers have these available, kind of easy to buy and easy to use, and it has an ESP32 already built onto the bottom of the display board, which you see kind of as a yellow or orangey looking printed circuit board here. So what I'm advocating is that for this to be included in the EEC brain box. And just to kind of show you a little bit of its capabilities, let me turn both devices off. I have them running inside of two windows in the Arduino IDE. So I'm going to restart both devices and then show a little bit of a demonstration. So first I'm going to restart the EEC by pressing its restart button. And now you see it's going through the restart motions. And then I'm also going to take this cheap yellow display off the little podium here and restart it with its restart button, which is on the bottom. So now I restarted the cheap yellow display. And we need to wait for these guys to sync up again and have the EEC talking to the Tello Simulator. So what you see is the handshake that's going on between the device. This is the same that would take place for a real Tello. We're waiting for the EEC to actually make a connection to it. And I have the right SID, so I'm not sure why it's taking as long as it's taking here. That's a little bit unexpected. It's always, this is the demo gods trying to get in the way of something. So let me just restart the EEC again. I've been playing around with this, so it might not be in the most stable connectivity conditions. So again, I'm letting the Tello Simulator be the same, and then I restarted. Now I do see the connected message. And then we see that the battery level is 98%. So this green LED on the EEC is the battery strength level, and this green LED up here indicates that I'm connected to a drone. In this case, it's the simulated drone. And then in the light that I'm using in the room here, these two icons, the connected one is kind of a rose color, which is kind of washed out on the display, and the battery one is kind of a dimmer green color. And I could make these brighter, but then I'm not going to be able to show the icons showing up on top of the drone labels here, the control labels. So now let me connect the gamepad, and I do that by pressing the home key. You won't see that, that's off screen, but I'm going to press the home key. You see a flashing light here though on the front of the PS4 gamepad, and then when this makes connection, this should turn solid blue, and it did. And then we see the message that the DualShock was connected, which is what the kind of gamepad I'm using. And then once again, we see the battery strength level being printed out on the OLED display. There's no number printed on the CYD Tello Sim, but the battery indicator in this LED will reflect battery state. So when the simulated Tello is running out of battery, this will start to turn yellow, yellow-green, then yellow, then orange, then red indicating that the battery is wearing down. 92% is certainly considered a green battery, so there's nothing wrong there. And then these are the serial monitor messages, that are shown in the IDE for this cheap yellow display version of the sim. And then we get these messages. So all I really want to do now is use the gamepad to do a little flying actions. So the upper left shoulder is the takeoff button. You see my finger there. I'm going to press the takeoff button. And then now we see the takeoff action. We see the in-flight blink, and then now it's solid blue. The blue LED is indicated here on the EEC, which means that we're supposedly in flight. A real Tello would be in real flight right now if I was talking to a real Tello. And then once the battery gets under 90, it turns to yellow green. And so that means on the EEC that both the green and the yellow LED indicators for battery strength light up. Over here, it's more just a subtle change to the green of the LED. So now I'm in the air, and now I want to just use some gamepad controls. So I'm going to use the button on the right. That's for going up and down. And so you see the up button lit, and then when I release it, then the up button is, LED is lit. When I use the X button on the down button on the diamond for buttons, then we're going down. Those RC commands are what the Tello would receive, and the Tello reacts to those RC commands. Radio control, I think is what RC stands for. And then I can do rotations, clockwise rotations, counterclockwise rotations. And then I can use the D-pad to do motions forward, backwards, left, and right. And then I also can do simultaneous directional motions if I press two of the D-pad keys at the same time, as you see me doing there. And the joysticks work, so that if I start to manipulate the joysticks, then we see patterns on the cheap yellow display indicating that which joystick is moving in which direction. And these are the strength of the LED is based on the strength of the joystick motion. So if I go all the way up if I go all the way left, then we have 100. If I go all the way right, then we have 100. If I go all the way forward, we have well, I didn't quite get to 100. All the way back, we get to 100. And then because I'm twiddling a little bit, we don't get complete forward, back, left, and right. Same thing with the other joystick. I can get motion indications off of those. And of course, you can do all joysticks at the same time. So I'm going to just stop now. And again, the reason I recorded the video was to say that my recommendation is that when we put the BrainBox together, that we both have hardware for the EEC, and then we also have this off the shelf. This is not something that you need to build. This is something that's programmed. But you acquire that from the supplier, and you need a cable, of course. You need a cable both for the EEC connected to the computer and a USB serial cable to connect the cheap yellow display. And then, this is, again, my belief that we should include both of these in the BrainBox. So I'll stop now.